Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Thomas of Woodstock and we get to hear from Queen Anne today in Act 1, Scene 3. It only took us 3 scenes to hear from a female character. So Queen Anne has just been coronated. She is now with King Richard, and at the beginning of this scene, everybody comes in, literally everybody and their grandmother, and the king and queen go and sit on their thrones, and Richard invites the flatterers to come and sit up with him, but then turns to everybody else in the room and he's like, all right, who would like to go first in praising my queen? So Gaunt starts to. He says some wonderful things about her, but then Woodstock in yesterday's monologue jumped in and was like, whoa, before you go on for too long, let me say a few words. So he says a few words, but then he also gives some insight into what Richard is really like, that he's not fully mature yet, that he's a little bit hot-headed, that he's, wanton, all these sorts of things, and that he hopes that Anne will sort of help temper his craziness as their marriage continues and he grows into maturity. And everybody's like, nice speech. And Queen Anne responds saying, "My sovereign lord, and you true English peers, your all accomplished honors have so tied my senses by a magical restraint in the sweet spells of these your fair demeanors, that I am bound and charmed from what I was. My native country I no more remember, but as a tale told in my infancy. The greatest part forgot, and that which is appears to England's fair Elysium, like brambles to the cedars, coarse to fine, or like the wild grape to the fruitful vine. And, having left the earth where I was bred, and English made, let me be Englished. They best shall please me, shall me English call. My heart, great king, to you, my love to all." So this is her in a very lovely way, just sort of renouncing her previous citizenship and saying that she's fully invested in being English. So she's like, I've gotten such a lovely, warm welcome from all of you that I will be proud to call myself English for the rest of my days, and I will remember my home country as just, a fairy tale. It was the place that I was born, but I no longer have ties there. I am English, so if you want to respect me, call me English. So Woodstock then praises her some more, but Richard jumps in and he's like, okay, you laid out like all my faults, now I'm gonna lay out some of yours. And Thomas is like, okay, go for it. And Richard's like, what's with the fancy clothes? Like, I barely recognized you. And Thomas is like, well, I dressed for the day. It was a fancy occasion, but trust me, as soon as today's over, I'm going back to my regular clothes. And King Richard is like, okay, but also when I saw you riding in on your horse, which used to be this like awesome horse, your horse was like depressed and slow and walking as if it had the entire weight of the world on it, sort of thing. And Richard was like, well, can you really blame the horse? Like, it's had a lot to do, and I've had a lot to do. And he starts getting a little bit worked up, and he continues to defend his plainness. He's like, so what if I have a plain horse? So what if I have plain clothes? Like, I could still build castles no matter what I'm wearing. And Anne notices that things are starting to get a little tense. So she calls for peace. And then the other uncles are like, Thomas told us that we needed to behave today. And like, look at what he's doing. But Woodstock keeps going, and he's like, okay, you want me to be plain and you want me to speak plainly? Let's talk about Bagot, Green, and Tressilian. And Richard's like, what about them? And he's like, they don't belong here. They don't belong up there with you. They're a bunch of upstarts, and it's inappropriate. And the king was like, oh, hush. And after that quick, oh, hush, Thomas is going to give us another monologue tomorrow where he continues talking about the king's relationship with the flatterers. So dun, dun, dun. Things are getting interesting. I'll see you tomorrow for more. Mwah.